Ladies and gentlemen, today we examine a sweeping piece of legislation, one that will shape the landscape of American life for years to come. This Republican-led bill, more than 1,000 pages long, is being heralded by its supporters as a comprehensive roadmap for economic growth, national security, and bureaucratic reform. But its critics warn of encroachments on civil liberties, judicial independence, and the balance of power between states and the federal government. At its core, this bill extends the Trump administration's signature tax cuts, aiming to solidify the economic legacy of the former president. Supporters argue these cuts are vital to maintaining growth and job creation, particularly in an era of inflation and global competition. But hidden between the lines are measures that may fundamentally alter how government serves, or fails to serve, its people. Beyond taxes, the bill adds layers of restriction on access to Medicaid and food stamps. Republicans claim these provisions are necessary to ensure only the truly needy receive support, pushing for what they call fiscal discipline. Yet opponents argue these changes will cut off lifelines for millions of Americans struggling to make ends meet, especially in rural and minority communities where job opportunities are scarce. And then there's immigration. A significant portion of this bill channels funding into what can only be described as an expansion of the Trump-era deportation apparatus. The new funding would boost border enforcement, increase deportation capacity, and reinforce detention centers. These measures come with a wave of new fees for immigrants: $1,000 to request asylum, $500 for temporary protected status, and thousands more for those sponsoring child migrants. Even work authorization, previously seen as a bridge to stability, would now cost $550 every 6 months. Yet it's not just migrants who face new financial hurdles. Americans sending money abroad, often to support families in Latin America, Asia, and Africa, would be slapped with a 3.5% tax on their remittances. The rationale: to fund border security and reduce cash outflows. Citizens are exempt, but for millions of legal residents and mixed-status families, this is a heavy burden. One of the most controversial judicial provisions would restrict judges' ability to enforce contempt rulings. This means that even when the government violates a court order, judges may be powerless unless a financial bond, often not required, is issued first. Critics warn this will shield federal officials from consequences, especially as some courts weigh holding Trump-era officials in contempt for past oversteps. Republicans insist it's a guardrail against frivolous litigation, but the impact could be profound, undermining one of the last checks on executive power. Now let us shift to a less obvious but equally impactful area: artificial intelligence. The bill allocates $500 million to modernize government using AI but includes a controversial clause: states would be barred from regulating AI. This nullifies the hard work of states like California and New York, which have already crafted oversight structures for algorithmic bias and ethical AI use. With no federal framework in place to replace them, this is deregulation masquerading as innovation. While the tech industry cheers the move, civil rights organizations are raising red flags. AI shapes everything from job applications to policing. Blocking state oversight without providing a federal alternative opens the door to misuse, discrimination, and unchecked corporate power. On the issue of guns, the bill makes an unusual pivot. A nearly century-old $200 registration fee on gun silencers would be repealed. The justification: protecting hearing. But opponents argue that silencers reduce the sound of gunfire in ways that endanger public safety, law enforcement, and communities. Who asked for this? Asked one Democratic lawmaker. The answer remains unclear. In a more popular provision, the bill would allow Americans to use their health savings accounts for gym memberships, up to $500 per person, or $1,000 per couple. But there's a catch. The benefit cannot be used at private clubs or facilities where fitness is incidental to the primary purpose, such as golf resorts or yacht clubs. Supporters see this as a nudge toward healthier lifestyles. Critics call it a small benefit buried in a massive bill that leaves many larger health issues untouched. A poignant and commendable measure in the bill introduces an income tax credit for some PurpleHeart recipients. Specifically, those who lose part of their Social Security disability benefits due to employment could receive an enhanced earned income tax credit. It's a recognition, albeit small, of the sacrifices these individuals have made in service to the country. Another striking proposal is the creation of what Republicans are calling TrumpAccounts. These are federally funded investment accounts for children born between January 2025 and January 2029. Each child would receive a $1,000 deposit from the federal government, with parents able to contribute up to $5,000 annually. The money would be invested in a stock fund tracking the U.S. market. Children could tap into it for education or a first home at age 18, and take full ownership at age 30. This is generational wealth building, the GOP says. Detractors see it as a branding exercise wrapped in fiscal policy. In education, the bill proposes sweeping changes to student aid. One provision redefines full-time enrollment from 12 to 15 credit hours per semester, potentially reducing PellGrant eligibility by $1,500 for part-time students juggling work or caregiving. This would disproportionately hurt low-income and first-generation college students, who already face immense barriers to graduation. More concerning is the dismantling of existing student loan repayment programs, including Biden's income-driven repayment plan. The new fixed-rate plan would not consider a borrower's income or financial hardship. Critics argue this is a step backward, stripping away protections that help millions avoid default. Supporters insist it simplifies a messy system. As the Senate prepares to take up this bill, Americans must pay close attention. The sweeping nature of the legislation, combined with the immense political pressure to pass it, makes it a magnet for last-minute additions, each with the power to reshape lives. From the courtroom to the classroom, from the border to the gym, this bill touches nearly every corner of American life. Whether you see this bill as a necessary course correction or a dangerous overreach, one thing is certain: its implications will be felt for generations. This is not just a tax bill. It is a social blueprint, a moral statement, and a litmus test for the values we choose to uphold as a nation. The decisions made in the coming weeks will not only determine policy outcomes, they will define the character of America in a new chapter of its history. Let us not blink. Let us not look away. Let us hold our lawmakers accountable for every page, every line, and every life this bill stands to change.